Hello, Lightworkers. It's Rachel Clare coming to you today live from the Rocky Mountain region. It is noon Mountain Time, and I promised that I would be here on Wednesdays. And I am the sort of person, I don't know if you can relate, pop me a like or a heart or something if you can. As soon as I decide I am going to commit to something, any kind of regimen, I don't want to do it. So I said, hey, I'm going to be popping in every single week at noon. And then I'm like, forgetting about it and doing other stuff. Here's the reason I'm an entrepreneur and I work from home is because I want to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. Can you relate? Today I'm talking about boundaries and I'm a little bit fired up. Welcome, Jennifer. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. If you have a question, anything you want to talk about today or explore, pop your question in. And while I'm waiting, I'm going to tell you guys about what just happened. So I'm like working here at my desk, right? And something pops up in my Facebook feed. And it's in this attachment parenting group that I'm in. And the woman is saying, hey, my 6-year-old son can feed himself, but he often wants me to sit there and feed him. Should I keep doing this or should I let him feed himself? So I had no business even looking at this. I was popping onto Facebook to grab something else. I was working on my podcast. I'm so excited. Welcome, Jill. Hi. And I'm working on my podcast. Boy, tell me if you can relate to this. Say yes or amen in the chat. I could not move forward on my podcast for like the longest time. I really wanted to do it and I could not freaking move the needle. I felt like paranoid. And then all of a sudden, boom, in like one morning, I like got my software. I recorded my first podcast. I got the music. I did the intro. I'm so excited. It's going to be coming to you soon. But anyway, back to my story. I'm in the middle of my podcast. I'm working on something else and I go to Facebook and I see this mom who posts this comment about, should I be feeding my 6-year-old child or should I let him do it himself? So I just pop in real quick. I'm like, no, you shouldn't be feeding your 6-year-old child. Like, your 6-year-old child can feed himself. And if you no longer want to feed your child, then just let him know, hey, honey, I know I've been feeding you, but now I'm going to stop because you can do it yourself. And I pop that in and I go back to whatever I'm doing. And then I start seeing all these notifications, right, in that browser. And all these people are coming after me. And you know what they're coming after me about? This one woman who's the moderator in the group is like, Rachel, we do things here with love and compassion. And I'm just like, whoa, that's my alarm telling me I'm supposed to be coming here talking to you. I'm like, whoa, assumption, hello, assuming I'm not doing something with love and compassion, right? Then all these other people are starting to comment like, Rachel, maybe you don't belong in this group. That's what someone said to me. So let me just back it on up for a second if you're just joining. I'm just on a rampage about what happened on my Facebook, doing one of these, like making comments and getting into kind of a little war with people. Someone asked the question, should I be feeding my 6-year-old son? He can feed himself. I no longer want to be spoon feeding him. And I said, no, absolutely, you shouldn't. And then all these people started coming after me. Rachel, maybe you don't belong here, is what someone actually said. I'm like, back the truck up. Wait a second. Because this woman asked her question and asked for an opinion and I gave my answer and you don't like it or you don't agree with it and now you are shaming me and telling me I shouldn't be here. You are like casting me out of the circle like I am no longer worthy of your love or acceptance. Oh, that's attachment parenting. Yeah, right? Hey, I'm like, what? But this is perfect. This is a perfect example of what people do. And this is so rich with so many things that I want to kind of unpack it and share about it with you today because it's all about boundaries. And here's what I know from being an educator with a master's degree in early childhood education, raising my daughter, being a psychic, being intuitive. We need loving boundaries. We need to set limits with people in our lives. And I firmly believe that you shouldn't do anything for your child that they can do for themselves. Once they start to be able to dress themselves, they might need a little assistance, a little help. They're learning to tie their shoes. If you have to come in and kind of assist with that, but for a 6-year-old child feeding themselves, if they know how to do that, there is no reason why a mother should be sitting there like spoon feeding her 6-year-old. But this is where we get so messed up. And something that I think is happening here is like this group that identifies around this theme of attachment parenting, I think has taken it too far where they're actually creating unhealthy boundaries. Because I think that if we don't set healthy limits with ourselves, with our children, if healthy limits weren't set with us, which for most of us they weren't, we probably had a lot of parents who helicopter, did too much for us, cleaned up our room way longer than they should have been, like did all the laundry, didn't make us do chores, kind of did everything for us, rendering us helpless in some ways. Or they were too avoidant, they didn't do anything to help us, right? And they kind of like teach you to swim by dropping you in the pool, right? So I'm on a rampage about this today because I think it's so interesting. I've been reading about, like, if you really want to be successful online, you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be a thought leader, you want to lead people, you're going to have to show up and share your opinions. So it's actually been in the forefront of my mind, and I've been showing up and sharing more of my opinions. And I've heard that they can be very polarizing. Once you start sharing your opinions and sharing yourself, it's very polarizing. Who would have thunk that I would show up and it would be so polarizing for me to say, hey, your 6-year-old child can feed themselves, you don't want to feed them anymore? Go ahead and let them feed themselves. And it sent off this like rocket of like, Rachel, you don't belong here, and Rachel, we're loving and compassionate, and obviously you are not, because they are assuming that I am saying something that's like cold or harsh, because we mistake boundaries for not being loving. And it's actually the exact opposite. Having very clear boundaries is the most loving thing we can do. We do it with love. We do it with empathy. If it's hard for our child, or it's hard for our husband, or it's hard for our mom, or it's hard for our friends, we say, oh gosh, yeah, I know. I get that this is hard for you, but this is me. This is what I need. Because here's what happened when I was a kid with my mom. If I got upset, my mom got upset. How many of you can relate to that? Give me a thumbs up if you're with me. Let me know if this is making sense, if this is resonating for you today, if this is valuable. I'm also willing to take any of your questions. Anything you want to talk about, pop your questions in and I'll answer anything you want to talk about. But I'm on a roll today just thinking about boundaries, because I really know that as a psychic, when I give readings, I'm always looking at the layers of people's aura. And the layers of our aura come from our chakras. And we have messages and old belief systems and patternings and guck in our chakras that we got from our parents. And it's often unhealthy boundaries, right? Our parents were enmeshed with us. They didn't have healthy boundaries. They were not cleaning and clearing their psychic space, so they did not know where they end and others begin. Part of being psychic, which means of the soul, psychic just means of the soul. Part of being psychic and being aware means that we have healthy boundaries. So I teach my 4 steps, right? Ground out, run energy. That means pull in cosmic energy through your crown from source, pull up earth energy from the earth. This is healing 101. Flush your system with earth and cosmic energy. Why? To get out all that old patterning, to flush out all those old energies. Because we're in our mother's womb, we get enmeshed with her aura in the beginning, we feel like we're one, and that's great until it's time to separate. And for many of us, our moms didn't know how to separate in a healthy way. So what I've really found, I'm so into conscious parenting, and what I've really found, especially like with people who identify in this group that I was in with attachment parenting, is that they take it too far. They mistake healthy bonding and attachment with overdoing. Like in the example of the 6-year-old boy who's still being fed by his mother. That's ridiculous. I think if we do things for others that they can do for themselves, we set up helplessness. If we do things for others that they can do for themselves, we teach them that we don't think that they can. Now, I'm not saying don't help your children if they need your help. You have to, it's scaffolding, right? In teaching the education world, you scaffold your lessons to meet your students where they are. And so one woman said to me, well, Rachel, I can make a cup of tea by myself, but I still enjoy when my husband makes me a cup of tea. Well, yeah, you're not fucking six. You're not six. I'm not talking about that. You're not a 6-year-old. If you're dealing with children and people who are 6, you need to start setting some boundaries. Like, honey, you can wipe yourself. Last night, my daughter gets up out of bed. She's ready to go to bed. She tells me I have to go to the bathroom again. It's one of her delay tactics. She gets up, she goes into the potty to go pee. When she's done, she's like, come and wipe me. She knows how to wipe herself. She did not, poo. Sorry, it's a little too much information. But hey, I live with a 3-year-old. So she's like sitting on the toilet and refusing to come back and get in her bed because she's saying, you need to do it for me. And I wouldn't. And I do it with love and compassion. I love you, sweetie. I know. Oh, you really want me to come. You really do. You really don't want to do it yourself. I'm not going to go do it for her. Because if I do, I am teaching her that if she complains enough, if she whines long enough, then someone will just do it for her. And boy, is that going to be a problem down the road. So I'm a firm believer that this is so holistic. Our fucked up people and fucked up world and people who are just feeling so worthless and helpless and all stuff, it's because we really got some messed up messages as children. We often didn't get healthy boundaries. And that has everything to do with being clairvoyant and being psychic because it's stored in our chakras. Our chakras become the layers of our aura. Your first chakra really turns on your first year of life. It creates the first layer of your aura. All things tribe, money, survival, body. Second chakra, second year of life. All things relationship, emotions, right? Sensuality, creativity, so on and so forth with all the years. Now, if someone is overbearing in your space, assaulting you, abusing you, not empowering you, enmeshed with you, you do not get the sovereign space. This is one of the biggest things that I found spectacular in psychic school and why I ended up doing the work that I do is because when I went to psychic school, it was before I had quit my career as a teacher. And I felt like I didn't have any choice. I felt like I wasn't living my own life. My mom was a teacher. My aunt was a teacher. I just grew up watching my mom. She would leave me at home at night while she went to class to go study teaching. I would dress up in her teaching clothes. I would play with this chalkboard I had. It's just like I was trained to be like my mother. And that's what we do. We model the people around us, right? So here I am in my life. I'm in this career. I'm a teacher. And the idea of doing something else starts coming to me, but I'm like, how can I break this mold? How can I break what's expected of me? And that's our charge as the divine goddess right now awakening on this planet. I believe our mission is to wake up with what we are programmed by source to do, shine and share our light with the people on the planet, and start to live and make our money through what doesn't feel like work, right? So anyway, there I am starting psychic school and we start grounding and we start running energies and we start setting our auric boundary together. And I really start learning these tools and I suddenly, for the first time in my life, start to really get a sense of what I feel like, who I am. And I started tuning into here's where I am and I end and others begin. And okay, that's one of the gifts of meditating and getting in the silence is you start to go, this is me. This is what I feel like. So anytime I'm with other people and I start to feel icky or that's their stuff. That's not me. Because I know what I feel like. And ooh, when we're in our own energy, it feels good. So anytime we don't feel good, it's because it's not our stuff. It's not our energy. And we cannot heal what is not our own. So we're these empaths, these psychic sponges, these women who are so used to like taking on the pain of others. Give me your pain, family, husband, children. Let me hold your pain here in this cup and I will heal it for you and I will feel like shit and it's okay. No, that's the old paradigm, right? But we have to start to become conscious of it. I'm a healer. I'm an empath. I'm not feeling well. I've taken on someone else's energy. It's not mine. When I feel good, I'm in my own energy. And then we ground it out. We release it. We let it go. We return to sender with consciousness. We call in our fairies and our angel guides. We call in the ascended masters and the archangels. We channel in light through our crown. We heal and repair our aura. We bring in soapy bubbles. We ask them to go to town. We check and make sure there's no tears. We set the space. We start grounding our office. We start grounding our home. We start grounding our car. And when my daughter Sophia is like, meh, I don't want to, I don't match her. If I match her, there's 2 children in the room and we're fucked. I don't match her. Sometimes I do. We're not all perfect and we all kind of, you don't get enough sleep and you lose your shit. I don't match her. Oh, yeah, you're really struggling with us. But we gotta go. Right? Like this morning it happened. We're getting ready for her to go. And I know it's going to be trouble. She doesn't want to put on her socks. She wants a different pair of socks. Oh, gosh. And we say it with love. I get it. This is really hard for you. Yeah. And we're going to do it. We don't sacrifice our needs. We don't sacrifice the expectations. We don't let other people run the show or make the decisions. We're specifically talking about children here. You compromise if it's a relationship. But the point, and what I want you to hear, is that what happens a lot for psychics and empaths is we start to match. So you're in a relationship, you match your partner. You're hanging out with your best friend, you match their energy. Because we're empathic. Because we live in the realm of sensual feeling. Because our body is our biggest psychic tool. So the mistake that we make is we match, we lose our center, we lose neutrality, and then... So the key to being psychic, what it's all about for me, is sovereignty, neutrality. You can come at me with all your stuff, but I'm not going to react. I'm not going to resist. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to play the war, because then I'm off my center, right? And it's actually really gross and really unhealthy in parenting relationships, right? I have a lot of struggle in my own relationship with my mom because she never had healthy boundaries with me. I didn't have a bedtime when I was a kid. I watched I remember watching like The Terminator when I was a young kid. Like there was no limits, no healthy boundaries to keep me protected in my magical cocoon of childhood, right? And even what she asked me about, like my relationships or my sexuality or whatever, it's just like gross. We have to have healthy boundaries with the people around us. And it only takes one adult in the room for there to be an adult in the relationship. So Autumn, you're asking, how do we line up with people that are ready to be high ticket clients? I feel like once I put it out there, the energy will attract. Absolutely, right? And the biggest thing that you can do is start to get really, really clear on who is that ideal client for you. So you have to know, like, who do you help, right? Like, what is it that you do? And who do you help? Who's it for? And get really clear on that person. Sometimes I actually make up a model of like, here is Robin. Robin is my ideal client. She is between the ages of 40 and 50 years old, right? She is in a job. She makes a good income. She has children, right? She is an entrepreneur. She has spiritual gifts. She's sharing herself. Like you want to paint the picture because then, so you're saying relationships mostly. Is that your niche? Is that what you're saying? If that's how you help people and that's your niche, that's great because you want to be really clear on that, right? So who do you help? Who's your ideal client? And start to call them in. So a way that I love to do this psychically is I love to imagine that there's a stadium full of my ideal peeps, the people that I can most help with my spiritual gifts. And you can pull them in with your energy. So just imagine that you're like pulling their energy through your body and then letting it go back out through and back out to them so they can like sense where you are in the universe and feel your energy before they're even in your sphere. So that's what I would do, right? And the 4 steps that I'm talking about, like make sure you have your daily practice because that's going to help move you forward in all realms the best. If you are grounded, you're running energy, your aura is clear and healthy, you're not holding on to other people's pain, it's your energy in your space, you're senior in your space, then you can attract in the right people. Where we get wonky is our energy is not in our space, right? We've got all this other energy, other entity, foreign energy in our space, and we're trying to attract from all this weird messaging, all these different signals. We clear out everybody else's energy. We make sure our vibe is the highest vibe in our space. We are sovereign. We are centered. We are senior in our space. We are clear on what we feel like. And then we call in from that place. Does that make sense? And, to sell high ticket, you've got to really make sure that you have a real problem that you can help people solve. So if it's relationships, like, do you help them find a partner? Do you help them heal after a breakup? Like, the more you niche down, right? And the 3 main niches are wealth, relationships, and health. So in which main niche are you? Relationships. Now who? Is it relationships for anyone? Is it for women? Is it for men? Is it before relationship, after relationship, right? And then if you can even niche down a little more from there. So we're kind of off on all these different tangents. But I hope that that is helpful. And I really appreciate you guys hanging in here with me today. I just sort of went blah, but what I really want you to get is that it's important that you have your practice that you're doing every single day. And if you don't have a meditation practice that you love, or meditation is hard for you, I can share with you my 4-step process and a free download. You can begin to use that to really get clarity in your life. And if you really want to connect more about your spiritual gifts and how to use those to package them up and sell high ticket and create your own business online, then you can book a free strategy session with me. You can go to theboulderpsychic.com/book and we'll talk about your business and you'll get clarity. So thank you so much for joining with me today. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Jennifer, you said distractions so easily take you off task, right? I know. We've got all these different things open. And also, used to babysit a toddler and that you had to have good boundaries with him, right? That's the final point of today. Good, healthy boundaries are loving. It's the most loving thing we can do for ourselves, especially starting to carve out time for you to meditate, to go for walks, to love yourself. Because as women, we're pleasers, we're overgivers. We often, our things go last to the list, right? So I hope this inspires you today. Leave a comment after. I'll be all up in here. Namaste. Bye-bye.